In the heart of the African savannah, where golden grasses stretched as far as the eye could see and acacia trees stood like silent guardians, there was a small village called Nyanda. The people of Nyanda lived simple lives, herding cattle, cultivating crops, and telling stories by the fire under the vast starlit sky. Among them was a girl named Abeni, who had lived her whole life as an orphan. She had been found as a baby, wrapped in fine silk, near the riverbank. The villagers, though kind, always whispered about her origins. Who were her real parents? Why had they abandoned her? Abeni grew up among the other children, but was always different. While others had dark skin and braided hair adorned with beads, hers was a lighter shade, and her curls were wilder, refusing to be tamed. Her features carried an air of nobility, but she never understood why. She had always felt a longing for something she could not name, a feeling of being incomplete. As she grew older, she became strong and resourceful, learning to gather herbs from the forest and fetch water from the river. But she never quite fit in. Some of the villagers resented her because she did not share their blood, while others pitied her for not knowing her true family. She ignored the whispers, finding solace in the vastness of the land and the stories told by the elders. The tales of lost princesses and warrior queens fascinated her, but she never imagined they had anything to do with her own life. One day, a group of strangers arrived in Nyanda. They came on horseback, their robes flowing like the river's current, their faces noble and strong. They were messengers from the great kingdom of Mandala, which lay beyond the mountains. They spoke of a long-lost princess, the daughter of Queen Zala, who had vanished many years ago. The kingdom had searched for her, believing she had been taken by enemies. But the queen had never lost hope. A prophecy had foretold that the princess would one day be found, marked by a birthmark in the shape of a crescent moon on her shoulder. When the messengers described this, the villagers gasped. Abeni had that exact birthmark. The elders recalled the silk cloth she had been wrapped in as a baby, fabric finer than anything the village had ever seen. It all became clear. Abeni was not an orphan of Nyanda, she was the lost daughter of Mandala. The realization struck Abeni like lightning. She had spent her whole life searching for where she belonged, only to discover she had been royalty all along. But instead of joy, fear gripped her. She did not know how to be a princess. She had never lived in a palace, worn fine clothes, or spoken in the refined manner of royalty. She was just a village girl, more comfortable chasing gazelles than sitting on a throne. Despite her fears, the queen's messengers insisted she return with them. The villagers, though sad to see her go, encouraged her to embrace her destiny. And so, Abeni left the only home she had ever known, riding toward a future filled with uncertainty. The journey to Mandala was long and arduous. They crossed vast plains, dense forests, and towering mountains. Along the way, Abeni watched the land change from the dry savannah to the lush greenery of the kingdom. But the biggest change was within her. She felt torn between two worlds, the humble life of the village and the grand life that awaited her. When she finally arrived at the palace, it was unlike anything she had imagined. The walls were carved with ancient symbols, and the halls gleamed with gold and ivory. Servants rushed to meet her, dressing her in flowing gowns and adorning her hair with jewels. But the grandeur only made her feel more out of place. She longed for the simplicity of Nyanda, where she could run barefoot in the dust and listen to the elders' stories by the fire. Her mother, Queen Zala, wept when she saw her. She embraced Abeni tightly, whispering words of love and relief. The queen told her how she had never given up hope, how she had sent searchers far and wide, believing that one day Abeni would return. The reunion was filled with emotion, but deep inside, Abeni wondered if she could truly be the daughter the queen had hoped for. Life in the palace was difficult for Abeni. She had to learn proper etiquette, history, and the art of diplomacy. The other nobles watched her with curiosity, some with doubt. Many whispered that she was too wild, too unrefined to be a princess. She struggled with the rigid rules, missing the freedom she had once had. She often escaped to the palace gardens, where she could breathe in the scent of the earth and remember who she was. One day, during a royal ceremony, an ambassador from a neighboring kingdom insulted Mandala's people. Abeni, unable to hold her tongue, spoke out fiercely in their defense. Though she had broken protocol, her courage impressed the court. The queen saw that her daughter had the heart of a leader, not because of royal training, but because of her spirit. Abeni realized then that she did not have to change who she was to be a princess. She could be both the daughter of Mandala and the girl of Nyanda. With time, Abeni embraced her role, using her knowledge of the land and people to help those in need. She visited villages, listened to the struggles of farmers, and introduced better ways to cultivate crops and store water. She built bridges between the palace and the people, reminding them that a ruler should not live above their subjects but among them. Years later, when Queen Zala passed away, Abeni took the throne. But she ruled not as a queen of gold and jewels, but as a leader of the people. She wore simple clothes when she walked among them, worked alongside them during harvests, and ensured no child grew up feeling lost, as she once had. She proved that identity is not about where one is born, but about the choices one makes.